Hey, what is going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. Happy Friday. I am starting to feel a little bit better. Yesterday was a little bit rough, but really important video that I wanted to throw out yesterday. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. It talks about Black Friday deals for Pokemon, specifically Pokemon trading cards, especially involving the TikTok app, which ideally isn't like the best place to buy Pokemon cards, but there's some really good shops on there who's kind of selling product at good deals with TikTok's extra coupons that come in. It's just, I know it sounds really weird and it sounds very sus, and I get that, but there's been a lot of great success stories out there, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody had that information. I thought it was just really important to share. So we're going to talk about something a lot different today, but we've talked about this stuff before, and we're going to go over Pokemon bulk a little bit, and specifically Pokemon cards that you want to pull out of your bulk. But before we jump into that, I do want to talk about the Pokemon TCG in general. There's a huge tournament going on this weekend down in Brazil. It's the Latin America International Championships. It's actually going on right now. I think they just started round 3 right when I'm recording this video, but very interesting. And honestly, OKJ Love put out a video a few days ago, so go watch. OKJ Love is absolutely fantastic. If you're not subscribed to OKJ Love, definitely subscribe to him. I'm going to put his link in the description below, specifically the video that I'm talking about, because he talked about really the state of Pokemon and where it's at in general. He mentioned collector fatigue. He mentioned a lot of different factors, and I think the big thing is that if you are experiencing something, and Opossum Bud did a good follow-up on collector fatigue and things like that, if you're experiencing something that you think relates to collector fatigue, or where maybe Pokemon just isn't for you right now, maybe you just need to switch lanes. Maybe you need to kind of focus your attention on somewhere else. And one of the best things that the best bits of advice that I can ever give anybody, a lot of people say, hey Fanny, what's the number one thing that you can tell me when it comes to getting involved in Pokemon? Learn the game. Learn to play the game. Find a local league, go to league, hang out with like-minded people. I guarantee you it will change every single viewpoint you have about Pokemon, and it will make things as fun as it possibly can. There is nothing like playing the Pokemon TCG. If you haven't downloaded Pokemon TCG Live, just go to Google, download Pokemon TCG Live, start learning how to play the game, and maybe that's something that's holding you back from going to a league, or something that you just don't know how to play. Like, it'll give you all the basic tutorial, all the basic rules. It's a completely free app. You get those code cards in your booster packs. You can use those to get booster packs redeemed online in order to start building up your inventory, building up your decks online, and start playing and having fun. I guarantee you it will change the way that you look at everything. You might say, hey Fanny, I don't even know where to go. I don't have any stores around me. Well, maybe you do. And I'm going to jump into this real quick. But if you go to Pokemon.com, not PokemonCenter.com, just Pokemon.com, there's a lot of information on here about the trading card game, about video games, about Pokedox. But up here is a section called Play Pokemon Events. So if you click on that, you can learn a lot about the rules, the structure, things like that, points, and everything like that. But if you just want to take just a tip of your toes into the water, so just very small start, click on find an event right here, and you can go up here. You can type in your zip code, and you can pull up leagues that are somewhat close to you, that are registered. Now, this isn't going to be everything. These are just the leagues that are registered in Pokemon's database. So we've got a weekend league over here in Richfield, right down the road. Actually, this is at Cardboard Empire. So they play basically every Sunday. They have a league that goes on where people can go. If you're local to the Richfield area, you can go basically every single Sunday and play Pokemon. There's a league challenge that's coming up on December 10th at the same store, where you can start earning points playing competitively. It's a lot of fun if you want to just go to a league and just hang out and learn the game, maybe trade some cards, just kind of meet like-minded people. I guarantee you this is really what you want to do. So type in your zip code. You can filter if you want to find higher caliber events or things that are more serious. You can do that as well. But this will just show you local leagues that you can go to meet like-minded people. I think that's very important, especially it is called a Pokemon trading card game, right? So you can trade cards off, you can battle casually, and just learn the game that way and just kind of grow in the hobby. It's a lot of fun. I was very timid when I went to my first local league. I thought, hey Fanny, dude, you are going to be way older. It's going to be just a bunch of little kids, and you're going to go there and you're going to get destroyed, and you're going to table flip, and you're going to lose your mind. But I went there, and it was just like, it was so welcoming. It was so heartwarming. It sounds super corny, but I met some of my best friends at local leagues. A lot of them who are down playing in Brazil right now, who take the game super seriously and they play professionally, traveling all over the world, sometimes multiple times a month to play this game. And those are some of my best friends, you know, and it's just, if you don't go to Pokemon League, if you don't try it, you're not going to know what you're missing. So I highly recommend it. Like I said, there is a Latin American International Championships going on this weekend right now. It looks like Gardevoir is making up the majority of the meta. So a lot of Gardevoir decks out there. But I think it's really important, whether you're a store owner, whether you're an investor, whether you're a collector, whatever you might be, to pay attention to what's going on in the meta, because that causes shifts in card values all the time. And it's very important not to bulk out cards, sell cards in bulk. Like, we buy bulk. I don't want you to sell me your cards to bulk out your Ionos at 3 cents a piece or 2 cents a piece or whatever it might be, when you can trade that card or sell that card for $3, $4 and get that return, so that way you can add to your master set collection or different pieces in your collection. I think that's super important to keep looking at this information, because it changes all the time as the meta changes, especially now with Paradox Rift. Just releasing Paradox Rift is legal for this tournament this weekend, so a lot of things are going to be different. There's going to be a lot of cards from Paradox Rift that might do well. Roaring Moon does have a smaller percentage of the meta that's making up down there, but if it does well, I mean, there could be cards in that deck then that are going to be really, really good. So if you go to Limitless TCG, you can see what some of these cards are. You can look at Lost Zone box and you can see, okay, these are cards that are really important in the Lost Zone box deck. We've got Battle VIP Pass here, we've got Switch Cart, we've got Escape Rope, and then you can start looking through your bulk and being like, okay, well, maybe I want to build a deck, or maybe I want to pull these cards out, so that way I can trade them. They're deck staples. Maybe my local league can use them. Maybe I can give them to my local league for store credit or whatever. But it's important to not just hold on to those cards that have even a little bit of value, that are worth more than that penny and a half that you might get for trading value at bulking out your card. So it's very important to keep up with a site like Limitless TCG. You can follow them on Twitter. You can follow Pokestats on Twitter. You can follow a lot of different Pokemon TCG content creators on Twitter. With that being said, let's jump into the actual presentation. I'm going to blow through this really quickly because we've already wasted 7 minutes of your time. Hopefully it was valuable information, but I want to talk about some cards that are going to see a huge impact currently, that are going through it, or that are going to get impacted. Now, Roaring Moon EX, we just talked about this. This really just came out. Like, this card is just getting played this week. It could do phenomenally. It could do really well at LAIC. It could take up like 4 or 5 of the top 8 spots. We don't know exactly what's going to happen as far as competitive play goes. And you can see it has started dropping a little bit ever since release. And you expect that from new cards that have been released. So this card started out at about $22.79 during release, and then started going down, and now it's down to $12.67. No matter how well this card does, it's still going to drop. It's still going to drop because Pokemon does a really good job of making sure that competitive cards, or cards that are expected to be competitive, are printed very, very highly to demand. So there's a Roaring Moon box, a collector's box, that is coming out very, very soon. It already started popping up at a lot of different Walmarts and big box retailers that has a copy of this Roaring Moon in it. So a lot of people are going to be able to buy that card and find it for relatively cheap. So you can expect this card to continue going down. Same thing happened with Chine Pao. Chine Pao was a very playable card from Paldea Evolved. However, it's been hovering right around $5, $6, $7 for the last few months because it is so accessible, which is great for the game. The competitive game continues to grow, but also important because it's not a card that you want to put in your bulk. You don't want to get 50 cents or $1 for that bulk V when it's worth $5, $6, $7. So Roaring Moon expected to go down a little bit because it is going to be in that collector box. Same thing with Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant is going to have its own collector's box as well, but definitely something you want to pay attention to and not necessarily put in your bulk cards. For Seal Stone, we've talked about this a ton of times. This will also continue to come down, but right now it's still doing really, really well, sitting at $14.57 currently, which is not too far off of its 1-year high, which is at $17.12. If you look at where it was a year ago, it's at $2.29, a $2.29 card. But because it's so important in the competitive field, once this card rotates, it's not going to be worth that much at all. It's not going to be worth trading off as much anymore. So it's definitely worth right now, if you have extra copies of this, using this, because at a $14.57 value, you can add full arts or illustration rares or other pieces to your collection that you might be missing, and then helping out competitive players in your area because maybe they need a copy of Forest Seal Stone, but they have an extra full art Wigglytuff EX from Scarlet and Violet 151 that you need for your collection. So really, it kind of helps out both fields, but sitting at $14.57 currently, it is going to be coming out in a box as well in the near future. So I do expect it to go down in price, not a ton. I do expect it to go down a decent amount, but not a ton where it's going to be basically worth it. Battle VIP Pass has continued to climb, especially as it gets more and more play in the meta. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with this card in the near future, Especially because rotation is expected to happen at some point, maybe spring, maybe summer of next year. We'll kind of see what Pokemon decides to do with that, but then the E-Block will probably rotate out. But you can see Battle VIP Pass at 49 cents really in February of 2023, and then started jumping up in price quite a bit, sitting at $3.25 currently for the regular art. Its high point is $3.43, which it just recently hit. But if you look at that reverse holo price, the reverse holo price is currently sitting at $7.78. A lot of competitive Pokemon players like to bling out their decks. They like playing with higher rarity stuff. It makes it a little bit easier to search. They like to flex on their opponents a little bit. It just is what it is. And Pokemon, not the most expensive game to play when you compare it to like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. So having the ability to do something like that and pay $7 for a reverse holo copy of Battle VIP Pass is attractive to a lot of people. So Battle VIP Pass, definitely one to look out for. Iono is going to be in format for quite some time, and it's going to be a playable card the entire time, where it's a staple in many decks where you're going to be playing 3-4 copies in just about every deck in the future. You can see it started out at about $1.37 when Paldea Evolved first came out. It did jump up to $3.67 at the beginning of November. It's dropped off a little bit, but still sitting at about $2.67. A lot of players are going to want 4, 8, 12, 16 copies of this because they're going to be running multiple decks at a time. So if you have extra Ionos lying around, definitely look to help out the competitive field, but then also you can expand your collection at the same time. So Iono, definitely want to keep an eye on. Earthen Vessel, this is a trainer card that just came out in Paradox Rift. This is definitely a card that you want to keep an eye on moving forward. This could probably will hover around $1 to $2 over the next several months. We'll see how it performs this weekend, but a very important card, being able to search your deck for energy cards and really just increase efficiency and consistency in your deck. That's really what Pokemon is all about. This card was only about 38 cents when Paradox Rift first came out, or right before it first came out. It has been dropping a little bit as more and more Paradox Rift gets opened up, but as decks are being made, and especially now that Paradox Rift is legal, decks getting made going forward as we see what happens at LAIC. Wouldn't surprise me if this card leveled off and stayed very consistent. It's sitting at $1.26 currently, so we expect it to stay right around there. Pokestop is a card that kind of blew up recently. You can see, look at how flat it was, and really, really cheap from November of 2022 all the way up until October of 2023. It was sitting at about 12 cents per copy pretty much the entire year, and then in November started getting played a lot more. You can look at that market price for the regular art. It jumped all the way up to $2.17 about a week ago. It's dropped down to about $1.51, but again, if you look at that reverse holo price, jumping up over $5, so definitely a card to keep an eye on moving forward. That was obviously from the Pokemon Go set. Raikou V, a huge card, especially involving Miraidon EX, making up a decent chunk of the meta in LAIC. Should be good for quite some time. Raikou V, another card that might rotate out in the near future, but for right now, doing extremely well. It was $1.56 for the majority of the beginning of the year. You can see it hit that one-year low probably in January of 2023. Started going up a little bit and then sunk back down a little bit in July. But then as Miraidon got more and more play after Worlds, kind of started going up more and more. Hit $12.08 recently as the beginning of November. Backed off a little bit now, currently sitting at $9.92. Squawkabilly EX, this card has done extremely well over the past couple months. Really good, again, for consistency purposes, especially in a lot of the decks right now in the meta. This is from Paldea Evolved. You can see right after Paldea Evolved came out, it did drop down to a little bit above bulk pricing at $2.07. Started climbing back up over $4. And then at the end of October, sunk all the way back down to basically $2 again. But now, with the release of Paradox Rift, Squawkabilly EX is starting to get more and more play because of that Squawk and Seize ability. It's jumped up to $4.94 currently, so that's the highest point it's been at really since release. Switch card, another card that's really important. Switching cards out, obviously, something that you're going to want to do, especially with decks like Lost Box still being important in the meta. You can see in November of 2022, this was selling for only about 32 cents. Astral Radiance has a lot of really good cards that are not ultra rares, which makes Astral Radiance a decent set. It did jump up to about $1.58 in April of 2023. It's leveled off quite a bit, but still above $1 at $1.15 currently. Then we've got Jet Energy from Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved is just loaded with a lot of really good cards. Reversal Energy isn't even on here, but Reversal Energy is another card that you want to really make sure that is not in your bulk because it does have a lot of playability in the future. But Jet Energy, after Paldea Evolved came out, it did drop down to about 36 cents. It did go pretty high, jumped up to $2.70 $1.67 in October. It's lost a little bit, but still sitting at $1.64 currently. Superior Energy Retrieval starting to gain more and more traction. This card has been reprinted several times with Palais Evolved. The most recent printing, this card was only selling for about a quarter for the majority of the summer, all the way up until August, September, when it really started going up a little bit. And I know it's not super expensive, but you can see a market price of $1.20, $1.23, which is currently where it's sitting right now at $1.20. I mean, that's higher than a lot of V cards, you know, a lot of EX cards, a lot of those bulkier EX cards that you might need for your master sets or your collection pieces. Hisuian Electrode V, this is a very interesting one. I don't know if this is going to hold or not. We'll see if it does anything this weekend at LAIC, but this was a very cheap bulk V. You can see it dropped all the way down to 59 cents at the beginning of November, but then some decks started getting hyped up a little bit, and because of that, Hisuian Electrode V jumped up in price. This was a card that is a full art in Lost Origin, but also a promo in the promo box. So currently selling at $4.08. That's a 1-year high for that Electrode V. Here is the Dark Patch Secret Rare from Lost Origin. Now, the common version or uncommon version of this card not doing nearly as well, but with the release of that Roaring Moon, Dark Patch has done extremely well. You can see in October of 2023, this card was selling for only $4.19. It's skyrocketed basically overnight. Over the span of about a month, it jumped all the way up to $19.52 as its 1-year high. Now it's backed off a little bit to $17.05, but Dark Patch really on the move. Raichu V kind of heading in the opposite direction right now, but still a little bit of time. Raichu V still has a little bit of playability with Miraidon decks, depending on which version you decide to play. This card was selling for about $1 in November of 2022. Very consistent all the way up until September of 2023, when it really started to skyrocket. It jumped up to $8.74 at the beginning of October. It has backed off a little bit, sitting at $4.91 currently. Luminian V with that luminous sign ability, very, very important for a lot of decks. This came out in Brilliant Stars, but it was also a promo card in the Trainer Toolkit. This card was selling for $1.50 in November of 2022. But you can see just very good gains for a long time, all the way up until October of 2023, where it took a step backward down below $2.50. But now it's almost doubled in price since then, sitting at $4.50, currently just off of its 1-year high. Or no, it's sitting at $4.56 currently, which is basically the high point that it's been at. Then we've got Entei V doing extremely well currently with a lot of different possibilities in the current meta. This card was very, very basic for a long time, from November of 2022 all the way up until October of 2023. It was basically selling below $2. It hit a low point of 91 cents basically there in July of 2023. But now with the meta shifting, it jumped all the way up to $8, currently sitting at $8, which is just off of its 1-year high of $8.02. Again, this one was from Brilliant Stars as well. Arvin, this is the full art version, but the special illustration rare is also doing extremely well. The common or the uncommon from Obsidian Flames, not doing terribly, but the uncommon from, I think it was Scarlet and Violet Base, is basically still just bulk pricing. So again, this just goes to show that some players like to use full arts or special illustration rares instead of just the basic ones. $3.26 is where this was selling in July of 2023. You can see it really started taking off in October of 2023. It jumped all the way up to $11.75 recently, which is just off, or just a little bit higher than where it is currently at $11.73. And that is the last one that we have to have on. There's more that you can look at, but you can kind of search on TCG Player for your own, just kind of perusing and see what's all going on out there. But the best advice that I can give you is to really start studying the game, learn the game, have fun with the game, enjoy Pokemon for what it is. I apologize, there was a lot of edits probably in this because I had coughing fits throughout the entire thing. I will continue to get better, and then hopefully my voice will be back to normal, and I won't sound like this. But thank you very much for bearing through it with me. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button down below, share the video, leave a like, leave a comment. All those things just go really, really far for the algorithm. But thank you so much just for taking the time to listen to me ramble. I'll be back hopefully in a couple days. Until next time, guys. Peace.